Maseches Bava Kamma Daf Sadivav continues a discussion of the halachas of shinoi. If somebody stole something and changed it, does he own it? And if there are improvements, does he own those improvements and he can keep them and does not need to return them? He perhaps has to pay the value of improvements that happen on their own, but those improvements that he did, he doesn't have to return. Or do you say no, he has to return those improvements? So I have a number of cases, a number of ways of defining what's considered to be a change in the object that the thief takes ownership of it and doesn't have to give it back itself. So the Gemara first brings two halachas said by Rava. Somebody stole something and he invested in it and improved it, and then he either sold it or he was moirish to his inheritors, so he does not have to give back, and they don't have to return those improvements. They get to keep them, as we said earlier in the Masechta, earlier in the sugya. That's takanas hashavim, a takana that they made to encourage people to return things. Rava's question is, what if the thief didn't improve them, the purchaser improved them? So somebody stole them, sold it, and then the purchaser improved it. Can he keep them? Or do you say, no, there's no takanas hashavim on him? So the Gemara answers, what did the thief sell? When he sold something, he sold all the rights that he has in it. Just like he has the rights to improve it and keep it, the buyer also gets the right to improve it and keep it. Now Rava asked, what's if the person who improved it was an Ovid Kichavim? Does he have takanas hashavim? So Rav Acha Midifti said to Ravina, what kind of question was Rava asking? We don't make takanas for an Ovid Kichavim. So the Gemara answers, we're referring to where it was sold by where it was purchased by a Yisrael. That is, an Ovid Kichavim stole it and sold it to Yisrael. Do we make a takanas hashavim for that Yisrael? So Gemara says, well, he only gets his rights by buying them from the Ovid Kichavim who stole them. The Ovid Kichavim never had a takanas hashavim for him, so the Yisrael couldn't have bought them from him. So Gemara says, no, the case is where Yisrael stole it, sold it to an Ovid Kichavim, then the Ovid Kichavim went and sold it to Yisrael. Now the thief, the first person to get it is Yisrael, and the last person to get it is a Yisrael. There was just an Ovid Kichavim in the middle, and the Ovid Kichavim is the one who improved it, the one who invested in it. So do you say that those rights pass from the first one to the last one? Or do you say the rights aren't there because the Ovid Kichavim who improved it did not have takanas hashavim? The Gemara concludes that take you the question stands or not have an answer to that. Now the Gemara goes into a list of things where you changed something or you processed it. Does it count as a shinoi so that the thief is claimed it and only has to give back money or not? So first we have Rav Papo says that somebody who stole a tree and he knocked the tree into his own property. That is, the tree was growing on the edge, the border between his property and the person who owns it. He cut it down and it fell into his own property, so now it's a wood in his own property. That is not called a shinoi because it was called a tree before. It's called a tree now, and therefore it has the same name, and therefore there's no change. It's not called a shinoi. If, however, he took the tree and he made it into logs, so what's the halacha there? So Rav Papa says again, he's not kleina. It used to be called trees, and now it's called tree logs. Still has the same name. Now, if he made it into beams, then it is considered to be something new. It's not called tree anymore, it's called beams, and that's a shinoi, and he's claimed it. However, if he stole it as beams, and then he made it into smaller beams, it's still called beams, it's not called a change at all. If he made it from beams into boards, then he is kleina. That is a significant change. Now it says Rava, what happens if somebody steals a lulav? So if he stole the lulav itself, and he tore off the leaves, made into a pile of leaves, he's kleina because it used to be called a lulav, now it's just called a pile of leaves. Now, if he stole the leaves and he made into a broom by weaving them together, that's a kinyan, because they used to be called leaves and now it's called a broom. If he took a broom and he tore off the leaves and wove it into a rope, then he's not kleina because he could just take apart the rope and put it back again to being a broom. And Rav Papa de Shaila, what happens if he bought a kosher lulav for sukkahs and he split the middle leaf, he split the tiamis in half? Now the Gemara's question is, does that passel it? The Gemara is assuming that if it passels the lulav, it is considered to be shino. You change it from being a kosher lulav for yontif into just a branch. So the Gemara tries rayas. The Gemara brings a raya from Rav Masun and Rav Shuba and Levi, where it says that if the middle leaf was removed, that is a psul. So his question is, that would seem to indicate that the same thing should be true if it's only split. So says no, splitting is different. If it's removed, it's chaser. Splitting may not be hadar, but it's not chaser, and therefore it's not a psul. Going to a different version, the raya was from Rav Masan and Rav Shuba and Levi, where it says that if the middle leaf was split, it's as if it is removed. He said that in Mefurish, and therefore you see clearly that if you split the tiamis, it is a psul, and if it's a psul, then it's a shinoi. The Gemara brings more examples of questions of if something is a shinoi or not. So Rav Papa said somebody who took a brick, he stole earth from someone. He took the sand and he made it into a brick, which is made by mixing it into a mud and then putting it in the oven. So that making to a brick is not a shinui, and the reason is because it doesn't have to stay the way. It can be ground up, and then it goes back to being sand. If, however, he took a brick and he changed it into sand by grinding it up, that is a shinui that can't be undone. Why can't it be undone? He can make it back into a brick. Says Rav Papa, that would be a new brick. That wouldn't be the old brick. You're making a brick again from scratch. That's panim chadashes. It's not considered to be reversible. Similarly, says Rav Papa, if he had a bar of silver and you make it into coins, it's not a kinyan because you could always melt it back into being silver. If you took coins though and you melted them into silver, that is a kinyan. You can make it into coins again. That would be new coins, and then not be making the old coins. It would be panim chadashes. Similarly, if someone took old coins which were tarnished and then he shined them and he polished them and he made them new, that's not a kinyan because it's just shining old coins. If, however, he took new coins and then he tarnished them up, then it is a kinyan because he's changed it forever. You might ask, let him undo it, let him polish it. No, it's once it becomes tarnished and never fully returns to the state of shine, and therefore it's not considered reversible. And when it refers back to the Mishnah where we had said in the last line that all thieves need to pay at the time of the value at the time of the theft. The value at the time of the theft, that's what they need to pay. So the Gemara says, what is this zaklal, this extra thing? What rules is including? So the Gemara says, this is to teach me halacha in Dalid Vehe. Somebody sells or shechts an animal. So the Gemara says, if he stole a lamb and it became an adult ram, or if he stole a calf and it became an adult ox, it changed in his rishus, and that's a shinui, and that's a kinyan he's kainit. If now he shachzer or sells it, it's considered to be like a shachzer sells his own thing, not what he stole. He does not have to pay the dalat vehe. He just has to pay the regular theft. Then the Gemara brings a story to round out this discussion. So the Gemara says was someone who stole 2 oxen from another one. He plowed his field and he planted the field. Then he gave the oxen back to the original owner. So they came before Rav Nachman to discuss how much he needs to pay. So Rav Nachman says not only does he have to return the oxen, which he already returned, he also has to pay the improvement in the value of his land that he plowed and planted it, which is the earnings of those oxen that he stole. He has to give them to the owner of the oxen. So Rav said to Rav Nachman, how does that make sense? It wasn't just the oxen that improved, that created the increased value of the plow. It was also the land. The land belongs to the thief, so you can't credit it all to the oxen and say he needs to pay for it. So Rav Nachman said, I didn't mean he should pay fully. He has to pay half. Half of it is credit of his land, half of it is credit of the oxen. He has to pay half. So Rav said, still, he returned what he stole. He stole oxen, he returned the oxen. Why should he need to pay more than that? So Rav Nachman said, didn't I tell you when I'm judging a case, don't say anything to me, because our friend Huna said about me that I'm on the level of Shavor Malka, of King Shavor, in matters of dinim, of monetary halacha, that just like anything he says goes because he's the king, anything I say goes as well. And I'll just explain to you that the reason that I did this is because I need to knas this thief. He's stolen many times, and he needs to be explained that he can't continue to do this. Okay, that concludes this Gemara. We now begin the next Mishnah, which we've seen quoted on the last daf. Mishnah discusses what happens if somebody stole something and it went down in value. Who takes the loss? So will the dividing line in these halachas is it a visible loss? Did it weaken or depreciate in value visibly, or is it something that you cannot visibly see? It's a hezek she'eni nicker. So the Mishnah begins with a machlekes. So it says if somebody stole an animal and it became old, so it's a shinui, it belongs to him. However, he needs to take the loss, and he has to pay the value at the time of the theft. He has to pay the higher value at the time of the theft. Now, that everybody agrees to. If, however, it was an eved, so here you have a machlekes, the Bava Kamma says he still has to pay the value at the time of the theft because he stole it and it lost value in his rishos. Rabbi Meir says avadim are like land, and therefore it can never actually be stolen. Land is wherever it is, and eved is whoever he is. It can't be stolen, and therefore it's considered to have lost in the property of the original owner, and he doesn't have to pay the difference. He doesn't have to pay the loss. He doesn't have to pay kashas gzela. He could pay the current value of whatever it's worth. Now, concerning other things that have a visible loss, so if somebody stole a coin and it cracked, or if he stole fruits and it became rotten, he stole wine and it became vinegar, all these things he has to pay the value at the time of the theft, meaning that the thief takes the loss, is considered to have lost value in his property and he owned it. If, however, it was an invisible loss, so if it was a coin and it got a psul, Gemara will explain what it is, truma became tameh, chametz and it became chametz over all of haPesach, and therefore it's also b'hana. If it was an animal that an averu was done with that animal, so it becomes also b'hana. Or it was a carbon that became puzzle from being brought on the mizbeach, or it became a shar niskal, and now it has to be stoned. In all these cases, you could just return the actual animal the way it is, and you could say, this is what I stole, I'm giving it back. Don't complain to me that its value changed. It's your thing. You're getting it back exactly what it was before. Even though the value has changed, it's no visible change, and therefore he could say that. Now we begin the Gemara first discussing what do we mean when we say it got old. So it says, Papa, old doesn't mean literally old, it just means it became weakened, even if it didn't get significantly older. So I'm asking, why does it say old? So my answer is old is to teach me what type of weakening it has to be. Just like age is not reversible, there also has to be a weakening that's not reversible. If it got sick or it became scrawny, but it's going to heal or it's going to fatten up again, that is not considered to be a loss that the thief wouldn't be responsible for. Now the Gemara quotes an incident related, similar halacha which we just said before the Mishnah. Mark Shisha, son of Chizah, said to Rav Ashi, same name Rav Yechon, and someone stole a lamb and it became a ram. If he stole a calf and it became an ox, it made a shino in his rishus, and therefore he owns it. If he then does tzvich mechira, he's not chayv for the dal because it's his own. So you see that aging from being young to being adult is also considered to be a shinoi. So on that, Rav Ashi said, Mark Shisha, I told you don't say the wrong names for people who say this. This was said by Rav Ilah. It was not said by Rav Yechanan, as you claim. The Gemara now discusses the machlokes between the Bava Kamma and Rabbi Meir about avadim. Do avadim have the din of land, of karka, or not? We had said that Rabbi Meir holds that avadim are like land. The halacha is like Rabbi Meir, that avadim considered to be land, and you can't really steal them. So I asked, why does Rav paskin like Rabbi Meir against the Bava Kamma who are the Rabbanon? Yachad Rav Malach Rabbanim, he should go like the Chachamim. So I gives two answers. The Gemara says that there's a brisa that switches Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim, and therefore this opinion that he's saying that avadim are like land is really the Rabbim, it's really the Bava Kamma, it's the Chachamim. So I ask, why does Rav go with the version that's written in the Brisa rather than the Mishnah? The Mishnah is more authoritative, he should go with the Mishnah. So I says, Rav taught the Mishnah that way. So says, why would Rav switch the Mishnah to match the Brisa? He should switch the Brisa to match the Mishnah. Says, no, we mean to say that Rav learned the Mishnah, he was taught the Mishnah by his Rebbe to match the Brisa. That is, he has a different version of the Mishnah than we have. In his version, the Mishnah and the Brisa are saying the same thing, and therefore he's passing like the Rabbim. My second answer is that he does not switch it, and the reason why he passes like the Brisa, that means he changed the Mishnah to fit the Brisa. He does switch the opinions, but he changed the Mishnah to fit the Brisa. He wasn't taught it that way. The reason that he did this is because it's not one Brisa, it's two Brisas. He found another Brisa which also shows that the Chachamim are the one who say that avadim are like land. And therefore, he says that the Chacham must be the one who say it here also, and he switched the Mishnah to match the Brisa which he mentioned, as well as this other Brisa. Now, what's that Brisa? Different Sugya, but there we see in that Sugya that the Chachamim argue on a Meir, and the Chachamim hold that avadim are like land. Now, this is the Sugya of Hamachlef Par v'Chamar, which we had earlier in the Masechta. So if somebody does a kinyan chalipin, he changes a cow for the donkey. They do a kinyan on the cow, and then one gives the cow, and then that transfers rishus of the receiver of the cow. He is makna with that his donkey to the giver of the cow. Or if somebody sells an Eved Kanani and then she gives birth, in the case of the donkey, you found that the cow gave birth or the donkey gave birth, whichever one you didn't have. And the question is, Bekitzer, who owns the Vlad? Was the child born before the sale and it belongs to the seller, or was it born after the sale and it belongs to the buyer? So, it depends what they say. So, if one says, it's mine, I know for sure, and the other one says, I don't know, so then it goes to the one who says for sure, because he's the Vadai. If they both say, I don't know, so neither of them know, so you split it, you split the value. If they both say Vadai, they both say they know for sure, so now one of them has to swear. Who's the one that has to swear? So the right to swear is for the seller, because since he has to give away at least one of these, he's a moed b'mixas, and he's agreeing that he owes at least the mother. He has to swear that he doesn't owe the baby, and then he gets to keep the baby. And the reason that it's he who swears, not the other one, The Brisa there says is because when you swear that you do not have to pay something. So since he's claiming he doesn't have to pay, his shvuah is the one that's enough. You don't swear and collect, you swear and not pay. Now all this is the Bava Kamma there, who's Rabbi Meir. The Chachamim disagree, and they say you can't swear about avadim. We had the case of a shifcha there, so that's an eved. Can't swear about avadim, because avadim count like karka, and just like there's no shvuah on karka, there's no shvuah on avadim. So there you have it. The Brisa quotes the Chachamim against Rabbi Meir, and the Chachamim are the ones who say that avadim are like land. And that's why Rav says you have to switch this Mishnah. So Mara asks, if Rav is really passing like the Chachamim, then he should say halacha k'Chachamim. It's not. He says halacha is like Rabbi Meir. So this is what he means. According to you, who have the version of Rabbi Meir, is the one who says that karka is like land, that avadim is like land, then halacha is like Rabbi Meir. According to your version. According to my version, however, it's really the Chachamim, and the halacha is like the Chachamim.